Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 20. I'm your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my good friends Jody.
Ahoy.
And Billy.
Arr, mateys.
Is that a greeting or just an acknowledgement of being greeted?
Both.
Woefully unprepared for that greeting today.
Ahoy is actually hello in Slovakian and in Polish. A lot of Eastern Europeans say ahoy as hello.
Amazing.
I've never known it. I thought it was like a pirate thing my whole life, like ahoy, matey.
Yes.
No, it's an actual word.
I want to use that more often.
To all our listeners east of Germany, ahoy.
Okay, so gents, episode 20. It's a bit of a mini milestone for us. I mean, that's not nothing.
No, 20 is a number.
By Jove, he's cracked it. I'm just so proud of us for being able to fit this significant effort into our busy parenting lifestyles. I mean, it is no mean feat.
No.
Hats off to all the regular podcasts that I listen to all the time that, always speak of their kids and stuff. And I don't know how some of them, like the McElroy brothers, can record like 5 different podcasts and fit it all into their week. That is insane. But I'm proud of us. Well done, guys. Well done for sticking with it.
It's been challenging, but we've done it.
We've done it. Congratulate the kids for playing 3 hours of Xbox while Dad records. They're really suffering.
Well done, boys.
Locked them in the bedroom with an Xbox. Shut up, Dad's working.
It's actually got me thinking, like, wow, 20 episodes. Shit, what are we going to do next? Which, is maybe a little bit premature, but
I would say so.
I am already casting my mind in that direction, but we'll see. Before we continue on with our charge through all of these books and the next series of books that I've yet to discuss with you guys, let's take a look back at our checkered past and jump into our callback section.
All right.
Yay.
Ooh, I thought you were going to go deep dive into our checkered past.
I was waiting for exciting stuff.
I won't drag those skeletons out into the open. They can stay right where they are. Mostly because I'm involved with a lot of this. Yes. Okay, so bear with me, boys. We've got a couple meaty ones here. Let's start with an easy one. We were wondering about what happens with the Shinarans that get sent to Johanna and are told by Moraine to wait for more orders. Turns out those orders never arrive.
No.
I had made an offhanded comment that I think when they later encounter the prophet that he is from, where are they, Gildan or something, and I'd set myself up for a major correction in the future. Turns out, because they were sitting there idle, that is when Massima started preaching as the prophet and later styled himself as the prophet of the dragon. And when they do interact with him in the future, it is in Gildan. So Moraine had sent those Shinaran soldiers there and they just sat there and festered until Nynaeve and Elaine run into Uno in a town and he takes them to Massima. And they have their interactions with him. And after that, Uno actually helps Nynaeve and Elaine sort of get out of Dodge while the people of the dragon or the dragon sworn, while they riot around that area. And he accompanies them all the way with the Shinaran Lancers, all the way back to Saladar. And there they join Gareth Bryan and the Aes Sedai army being trained at Saladar. And Uno takes on the responsibility of training some of the soldiers. And he acts as a messenger in the last battle. He's like a solid, entrenched part of their army. And I think he even gets promoted to captain or something in that thing. So to answer your question, Joe, what happens to them in Johanna? Nothing. They get left alone and they go nuts. At least Massima does.
But he didn't go nuts. He was already nuts by the time.
Yeah, he was well on the nut road.
Yes.
So, I mean, is this Moraine dropping the ball? Did she just forget about them or just send them because she really didn't know what to do with them? Just fucking go hang out there.
I have no idea. Maybe she had a plan for them, but as we know, something happens to Moraine down the track, so maybe her intentions were never followed through on because she was basically knocked off the board, right? She was not a viable piece anymore. So, but could just be oversight. Who knows?
Hmm.
Then, callback number 2. This one I call 5-pound trout.
Ah.
5-pound trout. Now, Billy, you were very upset with Robert Jordan for even suggesting that Moraine could catch a 5-pound trout.
With her hand.
I had to go check up on some flora and fauna facts.
Bart spamming us with trout facts.
Trout facts. Hashtag trout facts. So I'm going to quickly read off a couple records for largest trout ever caught.
That's why everyone's here, Marts. So let's have it.
Everyone is here for the trout facts. I mean, sideline wheel of
Hey,
time.
I'm fairly intrigued right now.
Are you? Okay, well, strap in, buddy. You're on the rocket ship to Trout City. Brook trout, the first one. World record, 14 pounds.
That's a big fish.
Sure is. Golden trout, not so big, but 11 pounds. A bull trout, 32 pounds. And a cutthroat trout, 41 pounds.
Those names sound oddly like made up terms.
I definitely did not just make this up. But here you go, Vil. Rainbow trout. What do you think is the biggest rainbow trout ever caught?
Oh, they get big. 23 pounds.
Try 48.
Jeez. That's a big fish.
So suddenly Moraine's 5-pound trout doesn't seem too bad. I mean, the way that they catch them, that's not, with a fly and line and, they're hanging over a rock. And you're quite right. Like, I mean, how big is a trout going to be hanging out under the rock that they are on? But I think I can give RJ enough leeway now to say that he wasn't just a shitty fisherman or like making up things.
Maybe. And in my defense, the pound kilogram thing is swayed my mind because a 5-kilogram trout is a decent trout.
Well, that's a different story. Yes, it's a different unit of measure.
Different unit of measure. And we're dealing with all these weird unit of measures and spans and
Look,
leagues.
I think it is universally agreed the units of measure in this story are not our forte. It's taken us a lot of time to wrap our heads around them. So, let's move on. What does Moraine know about Tel Aranriod? The long and short of it, not much. There is, in my research we did, or the research that I did, I saw that the last dreamer in the White Tower was Korean Nadel, who is long since dead. She kept her notes and her knowledge and the stuff that she learned about it quite secret as well, but somehow Varen came into possession of both the notes and the white, well, not the white, but the speckled stone terangrial that she eventually bestows on Egwene to practice her dreaming. And Varen doesn't give, I mean, she gives Egwene the terangrial to go practice, but she doesn't even give Egwene the notes. She keeps those notes to herself. So, it's hundreds of years since that Aes Sedai died. Only Varen has it, and she's not even sharing it with the person that she is entrusting with going to study them. So I think it's pretty safe to say that it is not common knowledge. And it should be said as well that the Aiel Wise Ones regarded Koreanan as an absolute novice. Like, she knew nothing about what she was doing, and she was an Aes Sedai that spent her life studying it. So suffice it to say that the vast majority of the Aes Sedai might know about its existence and its sort of general being, like how it connects a bunch of worlds and stuff, but beyond that, or even that, they might not know much about. And all they know is that you need to be absolutely on your toes and wary of it, because literally anything can go down there.
All right.
So that is probably why Moraine just gives the really, really broad advice, just be very careful of dreams when she says that to Perrin.
That's another reason why the Forsaken look at these Aes Sedai as children. So just really, they know nothing.
Ah, they're not thousands of years old. They haven't learned these things that we've forgotten.
No. Joe, your interpretation of the relationship between Tel Aran Riyadh and the Wolf Dream is also correct. The Wolf Dream is Tel Aran Riyadh. It is the central world that connects all the different realities, like so all the multiple dimensions and realities of like the portal stone worlds and all that sort of stuff connects to the one Tel Aran Riyadh. It is sort of like the central hub where all these other realities manifest in for split seconds.
Call it a gamer's lobby, if you will.
Yes, sure. That
Sure.
can kill you. Unlike most gaming lobbies, you can die. And then there is also, we touched on briefly what a dream shard is. And a dream shard is, like you said, like a subfolder of the dream world, basically, that a person can use to pull other people into. And whoever's dream it is, whoever generates the dream shard, has heightened abilities in that dream shard. So that must be why Ishamal is so fond of pulling people into those dream shards for meetings, and it just reinforces my theory that like the Dark Prince social and stuff was actually held in a dream shard that he was controlling, and in there he could be flying, hovering above, because even in the Age of Legends they couldn't fly, but in the Dark Prince social he was hovering above the head of the Madral and stuff. And here's a thing that I never ever knew, or if I knew it, I certainly forgot it. But the heroes of the Horn live in Tel Aran Riyadh. They wait there for the call. And if they are ever pulled out of Tel Aran Riyadh, they are then killed forever. But through some fluke, that is exactly what Elaine does to Brigitte. But the Warder Bond actually protects the heroes of the Horn from dying. So in theory, Rand could go into Tel Aran Riyadh, pull Arthur Hawkwing, for example, out of there, bond him as a warder, and there he is, Arthur Hawkwing, walking the world along with Brigitte Silverbow and Gadel Kane and all those people. Like, that can be done. Obviously, they would lose all their super ghost powers that they used to such great effect in Fulme, but, you have some pretty potent warriors at your disposal. There's rules that govern their interaction with people in Tel Aran Riyadh, but Brigitte actually routinely ignores them and spies on the Forsaken and stuff and feeds back information to, I think it is to Elaine and the other girls as they use the World of Dreams. So yeah, that was really interesting. I didn't realize that, they're right there and like they could be seeing what the people are doing there, but just hiding. Now.
Is it something about scrubbing pots?
No.
No.
Dark Hounds.
Oh, Dark Hounds. Oh, sweet.
Dark Hounds. So the description of a Dark Hound is that they look like large dogs or wolves. And in the book, in that chapter, it said that the hounds hunting Rand were heavy-shouldered, thick neck, massive head, and waist-high. Its teeth seem to shine like wet silver, which might be just a sort of hint at the fact that their saliva is deadly poisonous. All the dark hounds, their saliva is poisonous, even to the touch. And like you said, Joe, balefire is the only reliable way to kill them, which is what Rand uses in that instance. An argument against those being darkhounds is neither when Rand is killing that one darkhound nor when Perrin notices a smell in Jarrah does anyone use the word sulfur, because the darkhounds are often accompanied by this sort of smell of sulfur.
Isn't it when they walk, their paw prints burn into the ground or something like that? Or am I confusing?
No, that's correct. They leave no tracks whatsoever unless they step on stone, in which case they melt paw prints. And they can only be stopped by running water, which is exactly what Rand runs into at the end of that chapter. He runs into a stream. So the fact that they're mentioning running water, the size of the dogs, the shining wet teeth, and then that passage of Perrin when he arrives in Jarrah. Now, Vili, you and I in the last episode, we immediately said, was that Paden Fane? Was it the White Cloaks? And then later when we were talking about Darkhounds, you said, maybe Perrin smelled Darkhounds. Well, this is that passage again, and listen to this and see if it fits. For an instant, Perrin's nose caught another odor, one he could not identify, a faint trail that raised the hair on the back of his neck with vileness. And then it was gone. but he was sure something had passed that way, something wrong.
Hmm.
I read that as Paden Fane, but I think
That works
you
for
were
me.
right. I think that could be the Darkhounds.
Yeah, I mean, we all agreed at the end of that
We
they
did.
were Darkhounds, but I've looked online.
Now we just like to remind you that you were wrong.
Thank you, Billy. But I looked online to try and get confirmation about this, and there's nothing that I could find that says, yes, those were Darkhounds. So it's
Exactly.
odd.
Yeah. I
Anyway.
also I did the same thing, Joe, clearly. But a lot of people reference the first time that the Darkhounds are mentioned in this book, but later,
Yeah.
which means that because Lan, I think actually, we haven't reached that point yet, but I think Lan mentions, he catches a paw print or something in stone, and then he gives a short little spiel about Darkhounds, which to me just really reinforces then that, these probably are Darkhounds. If Darkhounds are chasing around later in the book, it's fairly safe to assume that this is sort of like an introduction to them without naming them specifically.
Yeah, I mean, one does not need to see only the fish head and the blood in the water to know the silver pike is around.
I was about to say thanks,
Waiting.
Swan.
Waiting for that fucking silver pike reference.
So yeah, in my mind, definitely Darkhounds.
Yeah.
And I think, that's where we all landed. But agreed, Joe, nothing conclusive online. This is all stuff that we're patching together, but I think there's enough circumstantial evidence here to make the assumption relatively safely.
We are online, and now it is conclusive with us. We are the first.
Yes.
There you go.
Maybe the next person that does this search finds our podcast first.
There you go.
Okay, so let's switch to a nice light, pedantic correction. This one is for you, Vil.
Oh, here
Scrubbing
we go again.
bots.
Close. It is Tarvalon related, but it is in relation to how many bridge towns there are. Vil, I think you said there were 4 of them. There are actually 6 of them. There's 6 bridges leading into Tarvalon, of which Diane is one, or whatever the name of the town was that they passed through. Varen and the girls with Matt in the stretcher where they say goodbye to Huron. Still with Tarvalon, I went back to that map and I put the book down with north oriented towards 12 o'clock on a clock face. And man, the harbors are at basically 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock. They are much closer to east and west than they are to north and south. So I take exception to them being called North Harbor and South Harbor.
I do not.
Let the world know.
Let me drop some info on you here. Those harbors lead to the north. The river from that harbor goes to the north of the continent, and the harbor at the bottom goes to the south of the continent. It's where they are going, not where they are situated.
Excellent.
Mic drop.
Okay, Joe, you're done. You can go.
Okay, goodbye.
Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. I will accept this.
All right.
Devil's in the detail, man. You could have called it the North Going Harbor or the South Sailing Harbor or anything else but just the North Harbor, South Harbor.
This is really pedantic. This is a new level for us. Anyway.
Is it?
Oh, you think that's pedantic? Let's get into the next one.
Mark's isn't done yet.
No. I'm certainly not done with callbacks, but this one is you make up your own mind. We were talking about why Huron would be avoiding Varen. And I think we all landed on the same idea that he was hiding his ability from the girls, even though he knows Varen knows that he's a sniffer. And when I went back, because obviously all these things we leave open-ended in the episode, I have to go and sort of scratch a bit deeper to find out. And where I sort of landed is the line that they use in the book is he's avoiding her because he looks afraid of what she might say. And my interpretation of that now is that Huron is afraid that Varen might mention that he's a sniffer and give away his game to the rest of the girls. Now, the only reason I think that he's even hiding it from the girls is that I think he is hiding that ability from people in general. It is so easy for people to think it's something of the dark, it's something they don't understand, it's weird magic and that sort of thing. And I think he has instinctively, through the years, gotten into the habit of trying to suppress that information. Like, don't let people know that you've got this weird ability that they might never have heard of.
Think about it. If you've got an ability that makes people drag you to places where gruesome murder has been done,
Yeah.
And if you're not particularly a person that gets a kick out of smelling this death, you kind of like also wouldn't want people to know because, man, maybe they'll just drag you to all murders all the time.
Not only that, but you're living in a world where people get, like killed for being assumed to be a dark friend. Someone draws a dragon fang on your door and everyone's up in
Oh,
arms.
burn
Burn your
the
house down.
witch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, and if I look at it like more sort of holistically about Huron's life and how he always tries to hide that from people that don't know, it makes more sense that he's avoiding Varen so that she won't absentmindedly say something about it or ask him to, like, go smell this thing or something, because at this point it is still a secret from Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene. And he's probably just trying to keep it that way. Okay, moving on. I keep referring to my relief whenever Rand and Perrin have a interaction or make reference to the fact that they're friends or act friendly towards each other, because I keep referring to this betrayal that Perrin experiences at the hands of Rand later in the story. And my memory around that was fuzzy. So I thought, okay, let me go look at what this actual event was and find out whether I should even be considering that when I'm looking at their interactions now. And it comes from A Crown of Swords, which is, what's that, book 7? And it's in chapter 27. Rand and Perrin stage an argument because Rand is trying to remove any kind of suspicion from Perrin and send him away, obviously, as he's wont to do, to protect him. So they
That rings a
stage this
bell.
argument. But during this argument, Rand actually loses control and he gets so angry. He throws Perrin against a stone column, and Perrin says he actually thinks he broke some ribs and his mouth is bleeding when he leaves. So this whole thing was supposed to be staged, but they have an argument about how Rand is treating the Aes Sedai that have sworn fealty to him. And Rand loses his shit. He shouts at the sky, "I am the dragon reborn. I will treat these Aes Sedai as I see fit." And he throws Perrin with air against a stone column and breaks some of his ribs. Like, cool. You said that you were going to stage an argument. Just rein it in a little bit, Rand. Like, I mean, this is one of your best mates from back home, and I think that has just always stayed with me. You don't even see the scene in real time. Perrin recalls it. Like the chapter starts with Perrin walking away, or like he's busy going somewhere else, and he then thinks back to this argument, and it's like, shit, okay, so you're not even in Rand's head or in Perrin's head when it's happening. You don't get like any insight into, maybe I shouldn't, turn it on too strong or anything like that. All you have is this anecdote of Rand losing his shit in front of everyone sort of just looking away, and him in front of a bunch of people throwing Perrin across the room and injuring him, which, is a betrayal in itself.
Well, Rand is insane, especially by book 7. He's deep
yeah.
in the river of madness, and
yeah.
And it's easy for him to lose his shit. A lot of pressure. I'll let it slide. He's done far worse.
yes. But that's the event that sort of is always in the back of my mind, so that every time they have an amicable interaction, I'm like, phew, okay, great. They're still friends. They're still
no
friends.
broken ribs. Close
no
call.
broken ribs. I can let down my guard at least until chapter 27 of A Crown of Swords.
Yeah.
Then I had an interesting thought just listening to our episode, and this is not even really I don't have a definitive answer here. There might just be fodder for more discussion. But do you think Moiraine leaves Gnome's cage unlocked specifically so that Perrin has the option of either setting him free or locking it again? Because after she's spoken to Gnome, she comes out and they mention that she doesn't bother cinching the lock again or like closing the lock, and then she leaves. In reading that again, I feel like maybe she, and expecting Perrin again afterwards, like she knows as they go down there and they see Gnome and she sees what's happening. She looks at Perrin. She knows that this is going to have a massive effect on Perrin. It's why she's waiting for Perrin to knock on the door later.
Yeah.
I like to think that she specifically left the lock unlocked so that Perrin has the option of either letting him go or locking him up again.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that that was there. Whether the outcome in her mind was Perrin taking the axe to the Wolfman or setting him free, but she was going to allow him to make that decision.
Yeah. Maybe that's blatantly obvious to everyone, but I just
Yeah.
had that thought after listening to our episode twice and reading that passage again. Like I had to ingest it a couple different ways and a couple different times to actually come to that conclusion. Still on the topic of Gnome, we joked about wouldn't it be great if Gnome comes back in the last battle?
Yeah, he does.
Guess what?
Ah!
Gnome reappears, and we've got this one courtesy of Aisha Jean, who's written in again on Facebook and said Gnome does in fact return. He comes back in the wolf dream as a wolf named Boundless, and he actually accompanies Perrin on a hunt for a white stag, which I can't remember much about, but maybe it's Perrin's training or something, but he joins Perrin there. And after Perrin encounters Boundless in the wolf dream, he learns that Gnome, as a human, was enduring great suffering of some kind. It's not elaborated on here, but it was only after he fully became a wolf that he was free from that. And if Boundless is, Hopper's in the wolf dream permanently, maybe the Gnome entity died and now just lives on as Boundless in the wolf dream.
Doggy
but
heaven.
yes, he very much does come back.
Doggy heaven, yeah.
Okay, now the last one. We have at various different moments speculated about whether Nynaeve and Egwene could also be Taverin. And Aisha Jean also mentioned that in this regard, they have the opinion that they are not Taverin, because neither Swan nor Loghain ever make mention of seeing any kind of glow around them or anything like that. But my only response to that would be that I can't recall, again, that means nothing. Listeners, let me know. I can't recall Swan or Loghain ever making any comments about Matt or Perrin glowing either.
They only made comment about Rand.
Only Rand. So Matt and Perrin confirmed Taverin. No mention of glows around them. I don't know. Maybe Loghain does later in the story. I don't know if Matt and Loghain ever cross paths, but I think Perrin might. So to me, just because neither Swan nor Loghain says anything doesn't mean that it is not the case. And, to further fuel my own theory, I would even say maybe Swan tasks the girls with this impossible job of finding the Black Archer members when they are woefully ill-equipped to do so, because maybe she does see something about them and puts them in those situations to let their Taverin nature potentially sway things in their favor.
There's a lot of inner monologue from Swan in these next few chapters, and that doesn't really come up. But
it doesn't, no. Anyway,
no. Another open-ended question.
Well, yes, very much so. I mean, this is a topic of much debate online, right? Like people talk about this all the time, and it is never, ever, ever in the story ever confirmed or stated explicitly that the girls either are or aren't Taverin. We just notice all these things happening around them, and we go, "That is very lucky," or like "That is weird," or anything like that, and that's why people are, asking that question in the first place.
Just like in chapter 15 coming up in this podcast.
Exactly.
I was just going to draw an arrow straight to that.
I even wrote in my notes in big capital letters, Taverin. So yeah, we'll get there.
Same. Now, Rowan actually wrote into me after I had made those notes, and a friend of the show, Rowan, wrote in and he said he enjoyed our discussion about it. He also thinks that the girls are Taverin, and then he pointed me to a quote in this book. In chapter 2, Sidin, there is this quote: Egwene, Nynaeve, Rand, Matt, and Perrin, all 5 from Eamon's Field in the Two Rivers. Few people had come into the Two Rivers from outside, except for the occasional peddlers and merchants once a year to buy wool and tobacco. Almost no one had ever left until the wheel chose out its Taverin, and 5 simple country folk could stay where they were no longer.
Well, there you go. Conclusive.
If not conclusive, certainly interesting, right? I mean, calling them all out by name, mentioning that the wheel has chosen its Taverin, and then saying that 5 of them couldn't stay there anymore. I mean, if the boys left, Egwene and Nynaeve could have stayed. But if the wheel chose its Taverin, and they all 5 couldn't stay, I don't think it's too much of a leap to assume that they, are coloured or tarred by that same brush.
Tarred by that same brush. Nice way, yeah. Like, it's not cool to be Taverin. Tarred and feathered as a Taverin. No, I mean, I've never doubted, well, not never doubted, I've just never thought about it before recording this podcast, but since I've started this reread, it's clear in my mind that they're Taverin. Anyway, that's just what I thought.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, I'm getting closer and closer to that, and that quote from that Rowan pointed me to certainly pushes me a little bit further along that road as well. That is it, boys. That is all the callbacks that we will need to do this week.
Damn.
We've had longer, so don't worry. It's not like they're getting longer and longer and longer. So let's get into the good stuff. We're picking up from chapter 12 this episode. So chapter 12 is called The Amyrlin Seat. And why don't you take us through that, Jody?
I shall do that. We join up with Swan as she's pacing the length of her office. So the girls have just arrived, and Varen's just arrived, obviously in the previous episode from the last podcast. So now we're upstairs with the head honcho. She's heard that Varen has returned, and she's pacing around nervously and glancing at her little black box of secrets that she has on her desk, which is apparently filled with documents in case some shit goes sideways and she has to do some stuff. All right. It's called Night. It's a Nightwood box, so I assume it's black. It's just my, my thoughts.
Makes sense.
So she's deep in thought. Tons of exposition going on here. It's in the book. You can go read it. When Leanne pops her head in, I'm not going down that road. Varen has arrived and she's outside and wants to chat. And before Leanne has even finished asking if it's okay, Swan's like, yes, send her in, and immediately realizes, shit, I should have played it cool because things have changed in the tower since we've last been there. And we'll hear about that soon. Anyway, Varen has a lot of news. So Swan tells her that when she comes in, Swan tells her that she has warded the room so she can speak freely. And this is a surprise to Varen. She raises her eyebrows, which is the Aes Sedai gasp, basically. Things have changed. So, info dump from Varen. Point 1. Rand has proclaimed himself the Dragon Reborn. That's first on her list. This is kind of a relief and not so much a relief, I suppose. Terror could be the other word for it.
Shit's getting real.
Shit's getting real. Okay, it's confirmed. That's good. But on the other hand, holy shit, the Dragon Reborn is going to kill us all. And as soon as he did, ironically, the other 2 false dragons were immediately captured and or killed in battle at the exact same time. While it was Taim up in Saldea, and the other one was in Tyr, right? He was in fighting with the Tarians.
So
yes. They killed that one. They never even found out what his name was. Both of their horses reared. As soon as Rand proclaimed himself and he appeared in the skies above Felmy, this also happened, it appears. I don't know if it happened all over the world or if it just happened in the areas where there were other dragons or false dragons. Because that flash in the sky appeared above their battles as well. Their horses reared and they fell off and got knocked unconscious. The other guy down south was immediately executed, whatever his name was. No one will ever know. And Taim was captured. So the pattern has got its dragon. There's no need for any others. So cheers, dudes. Thanks for stopping by. Second point, here's the Horn of Villiers in a sack that I've carried across half the country. She's like, holy crap, you can't just carry it like that. She's like, yeah, but no one's going to notice. I mean, no one's going to think those travelers, are carrying the Horn of Villiers. So hide it in plain sight, basically. Oh, and by the way, Matt blew it, not Rand, and he is downstairs dying from the taint that the dagger is giving him. So lots of shit's going down. And there's a point here where you get the typical Aes Sedai from Swan, and she's already making plans for the next blower of the horn, because she's thinking, okay, he's dying. Do we actually let him die and then get someone else? She even thinks one of the warders. Who can I get to blow the horn after that so that I can control the Horn of Villiers? Yeah. So they're not all, I mean, she's good. We try and think of things in terms of who's a good person, who's a bad person. Like, obviously, the Black Aja are bad. But these
Mm,
Aes Sedai are not all. It's not all black and white. So
Hey man,
no.
they gotta make plans for every eventuality.
exactly, that's why she's got that little black box.
It's hard to say, like, yeah, but maybe they can't heal him. They've already tried. They've had a couple of goes at it.
Yeah, they've had individual Aes Sedai, you know. But even Moraine said right in the beginning, if we must take him to the tower there, they can make a circle and they can, everyone channeling together, maybe they can do something. So she hasn't even thought about that. Her first thought is, let the bastard die and then we can find someone else to take over his place.
She didn't quite say let the bastard die, but she's kind
I
of like,
paraphrase.
you've got to think about this, and
yes,
Tamarin Gaidon is coming at the end of the world. You want to have your best army in control of not a gambling young lad that sits in the bottom of Aldara's peasant holes throwing dice at shoes.
In Jodie's defense, Matt is a bastard. Swan just doesn't know that yet.
All right, so yeah, okay, maybe she doesn't think that son of a bitch. She's just like, he's a tool. Everyone else in the world is a tool for her to use to get, what she wants. So the option is there. Although she doesn't quite realize his epic Taviranness would never allow that to happen anyway. So, But it is a thought. It's an option. It's on the table. Also, point number 3 in the info dump. Varen has brought the 3 runaways back, but of course Swan already knew that. It's just for us. And point number 4, the Seanchan use the 1 power in battle. And I'm very disappointed in Swan here, as she kind of like, yeah, but they ran away. They went back across the sea. We're not going to worry about them now. Like, Jesus. If there's anyone you need to worry about right now, it's those people. Yeah. And the damage that they've caused to the Aes Sedai reputation as well. Like, the news is spreading across the land that Aes Sedai are helping the Seanchan. We know it's wrong, but it doesn't matter. And they're using the 1 power in battle. And these guys are someone you've got to take seriously. But she's not. She goes on about silver pike and lionfish and all kinds of weird shit. Can't worry about the lionfish out in the ocean when the silver pike are eating through your nets or whatever. Villy, I suppose you know the exact quote to that. No, Villy's just staring at me.
The shark will chase the lionfish into the shallows and eventually die from its sting or something of the sort.
All right. Well, that didn't really clear anything up, but okay. There's sharks and lionfish and silver pike.
All I heard was fish.
You got to deal. Okay. You got to deal with the fish that's on your line. You got to deal with the fish that's on your line, not the one that you want on your line.
Okay. All right, there you go. That makes more sense. Thank you, Villy. So Varen asks what she plans to do with these 3 runaways, Nynaeve, Egwene, and Egwene. And Swan gives a typical Aes Sedai answer, which is the truth, but obviously we know she has plans to get them involved in some sort of hunt for the Black Aja. So she just says, after I'm done with them, they'll wish that they were ground into sausages or something. I don't know. This is not a fish metaphor for some reason.
Or anyway, sell themselves down at the harbor side or something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, so they're gonna wish they were dead, basically, which is true, but not exactly what Varen might believe. And basically, that's it. Chapter over. Chapter ends with Swan inviting Varen to sit down and tell her everything that the girls said while they were with Varen. And we don't get to hear the whole story, but of course, we've already been on this journey, so we know. And that's how the chapter ends. Short and sweet.
That was a very short chapter, I must say. But it was good news. Well, not good news. It was good news-filled information, because at this point, you haven't had any much from the perspective of Swan at all.
No.
So you don't... No. Playing sort of first reader, you're like, cool, what's going to happen? And pretty much what I am at the moment, again, with the glaring gaps of several books in my head. It's good to sort of just get that quick information and edges you on to the next chapter, I suppose.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add?
I thought it was hectic that the pattern is just killing off false dragons now that it's got the real dragon reborn. Like, that's a much more active role in the prophecy than I assumed the pattern would play. I'd never noticed that before.
Now, this makes... all right. Let's go down this little path.
Come with me.
Now, is the pattern has the pattern spat out Rand as the dragon reborn and false dragons? Or has it spat out 3 viable candidates? And let's see, let the best man win.
If nature and the pattern are alike,
Yeah.
they would spawn out many at the same time for one to be successful and achieve, and then the rest will be killed off because the one that succeeded will be the best.
Some of them, we know Taim at the very least, and Logain can channel.
Yeah.
Don't know about the guy in Tier.
No one
But
does.
if no, I was going to say, like maybe if they can channel, there's other ways that they can be branded and blah, blah, but they don't have the Aiel legacy. They're not going to fulfill the Koreathon cycle. So, I mean, Rand had to be the dragon. No one else could be it. But maybe, like Billy's saying, like in nature, like, it's pushing one thing out, but it's not clean and clinical. Like, here's your dragon reborn. There's sort of like, stuff that comes along with it. And there are other people that can also channel, also rising up. Maybe the proximity of Tom and Gaidon is sort of and the pattern, spinning in that direction is sort of sweeping up these other male channelers as well that are then just proclaiming themselves as dragons. As part of like just in the wake of this inexorable path to Tom and Gaidon with Rand at the tip.
I say, why create them? Why create them at all? Maybe unless they're backup
to create
plans.
Confusion.
Why would the pattern want to create confusion?
I think that's the only thing, like just to create that chaos at that moment.
Maybe to
the dragon having to proclaim himself has to go through a whole lot of
take the heat off Rand.
Yeah,
he's got to also. You're not born like Lan with a sword in your hand. He was born with a shovel and a hoe in his hand.
Plow.
And he had to all of a sudden go from thinking he's going to marry Egwene and live in the mountains all happy to all of a sudden being the most feared person in the world. So
I read somewhere that there are ongoing theories that one of the older false dragons, something starting with a G, Amalasan, Gior, Amalas, whatever his name was,
or something, yes.
Yeah, that people think that he was a dragon, but he didn't make it all the way through the prophecy.
I read about that. There's in the book somewhere. Where was I? I was also reading that.
Oh, interesting. Maybe you and I just frequent the same corners of the internet.
Maybe.
I know we do.
I've seen you there.
Like this corner. But yeah, I don't know, Joe. Like, it's a good question, like if Rand was always going to be the Dragon Reborn, always had to be, the son of an Aiel, always had to go, go back into the waste and, break their, what was it, slay them with a sword and break them with a leaf or whatever it is. Yeah.
No, I think this that we came up with now, like to take the heat off Rand. The pattern knew that he was, because he meets all the criteria and these other guys don't, but he has to survive. So, I mean, look, these other guys are in battle the whole time. That's really occupying a lot of armies trying to kill dragons. That is not the right one. That's true.
Dividing the attentions of the Red Archer.
Mm-hmm. Right, so the pattern has a plan. The pattern is brutal, like not caring about these other guys at all.
It's nature's cruel, man.
Yes,
it is, and it's not exact. It's not precise. It's always messy. I had a bit of a chuckle when Swan says, "At least he's safely in Moraine's hands."
Yeah,
he's in the bush fighting darkhounds by himself, no horse, in the night.
She even mentions here, like, can I trust Moraine? Like, oh well, that's later in the chapters. Yes. But anyway, there's during these chapters, like,
it's later, yeah.
Yeah, she's always believed she can, but even Moraine is like,
and that's her closest confidant.
Yeah.
On the same topic, in this chapter, Swan is exasperated by Moraine's unpredictability. She's like, or has Moraine come up with some other plan now?
He hasn't told me about.
Their 20-year plan got flushed when they met in Feldara. Oh, by the way, we're going to just let Rand go to Ilion by himself.
Yeah.
What? No, that's not what we agreed. My last note for this chapter is just another one of those really cool turns of phrase that Robert Jordan used, and that is when Varen is talking about the Damane, or like women using the one power as a weapon. he says, even dry ink on paper carried an edge of hysteria when they wrote about that. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. Like even just you can see it in their writing, but specific, not like in their handwriting or anything.
Mm.
Even dry ink on paper carried an edge of hysteria. It's cool.
Yeah, it's almost as if he could write.
It's weird.
It's weird.
You should write a book.
Yeah.
Or 12.
Yeah, I think it was 15 in total, plus we're not counting Conan books and all the other stuff he wrote.
Yeah, I was also not counting the Sanderson books.
You can't, what, you're not counting the Sanderson books? That's a lot of kudos given to Sanderson there.
As books that Robert Jordan wrote? No.
All right. We're going down this pedantic path again. Yes.
Hey, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but I can be pretty pedantic when it comes down to it.
You don't say.
Stop it,
Billy's
Jody.
tired.
Stop it.
You're going to provoke
Stop
him.
fueling the fire.
Don't provoke it.
Speaking of provoking my pedantry, Villy, why don't you take us through the next chapter 13, called Punishments?
Ooh.
Oh, yep. Now we
He has
go.
the scrubbing of pots.
Man.
Did you
Don't.
purposefully give him this chapter, Moritz?
Well, when I read it, I was like, all right, no. I see it. There we go. There's
That's
the
why.
pots.
It's not why I gave the chapter to Villy, but when I saw it, I mean, every time I see it now, I'm going to chuckle.
Mhm.
All right.
So, Egwene, and Elaine, they are in their novice quarters. They're very fruitfully described novice quarters with their beds built into the walls, which makes you obviously better understand how they have this little section of communication with each other. The beds and the walls, I would assume, would be side to side, so that they've got thin wall in between them that they've drilled through over the time, and they've got that little whispering thing lying on their sides and mostly crying about scrubbing pots the days before and get to have a little chat after hours. But anyway, I digress. The Egwene and Elaine are talking about this that they are facing. They're very uncertain at the moment. The word stilling has been brought up, and that thought just absolutely frightens Egwene to death. That's like, no, I'd rather run away. And Elaine, listening to this, like, yeah, well, I'll come with you. Like, already planning that if this is the set outcome for our adventure that we got kidnapped on, we'll definitely run away. And so Farlane bursts in while they were still talking and discussing this cruel eventuality or possibility, and sort of giving her a very fake smile. Oh, you're having a little chat. Because, I mean, every Aes Sedai that's come through as a novice will know about these little holes. So, I mean, there's no secret to it. It's kind of like that. We'll let you have your little... They've probably got some bloody wards on there that eavesdrops anyway on those little tunnels. But anyway.
Yeah, who knows?
Be a prime spot for them.
Yep, it would. I mean, yeah, anyway. So she's handing out, oh, you're having a good... What are you talking about? And it's kind of like, rub it off. But she's like, no, Amyrlin will see you now. Got to get ready. And she takes just that much more time than she probably should. Now nicely dressed.
Egwene?
Yeah, Egwene. Taking that much more time than she probably should in getting ready, getting up, smoothing off her skirt. She's got a white belt on again with a white pouch in a white dress. And they meet up with Elaine in the hallway, and the two accepted take the two novices to the Amyrlin seat. Eventually, they're hitting some big corridors. They meet up with Nynaeve, who has been brought out by the other accepted. Forget her name now.
Theodrin?
Theodrin, that's right. And she gives the two girls, Gwyn and Elaine, a warm, comforting hug, I suppose. Sort of like, yep, we're in this together. And off they march up into the, what do they call that room?
The antechamber.
Antechamber. And that's where they get sort of caught up in the gaze of Leanne, who's now basically getting them ready to come into the room. She asks the three accepted if they had any problems getting the girls, Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve, to come peacefully and without any problems. And Farlane then purposefully just lies about getting more trouble from Egwene than there really was, to which she got the opposite effect out of Leanne, who then tells her, well, when you are asked to bring someone, you're not being asked to drag them by the scuff or lead them or something of the sort. And you should now go to some other Aes Sedai, and you're going to go and rake the spring lawns pathways while you contemplate this, which was quite nice.
I don't think she lied, but she was taking a lot of, pleasure in making it sound like Egwene was giving her shit, which she was.
Well, yeah.
There's an interaction between Farlane and Egwene when she comes to call her. She comes in all like smiling and saying, "Oh, you whispering to your friend," and Egwene remembers that they had been commanded to only speak to Aes Sedai or face punishment. So Farlane knows if she can coax Egwene into talking to her, she'll be setting her up for more punishment. But Egwene is onto her, so she doesn't say anything. And she just gives a little smile or something, and Farlane, like, immediately her facial expression changes. Like, okay, fine, well, just get your stuff and hurry up and come. And then Egwene specifically takes extra long to get her thing. She's sort of like a real fucking child. Goes and gets her little thing, straightens her stuff out and walks out, and then like gives her a little smirk as she's leaving the room. So Egwene is stoking the fire there, and Farlane's temper did get the better of her. But I don't think she lied about. She may have embellished the extent to which Egwene gave her shit, but Egwene gave her shit.
Oh, big, not a little bit, not a lot. Just
she
took
she
30
knew what she was
seconds
doing.
longer than she should have.
Yeah. I love that, by the way. Egwene got one over her.
So with that, the accepteds got sent away, and Leanne walks them through the door where she sort of gets to her post, or I suppose her little spot to the side of the Amyrlin seat, Swan. And for a very long time, they just stand in silence. Nynaeve tried to pipe up at some stage to only get the glare of the keeper and just shut it then. So eventually, after what felt like hours, Swan looks up and says, "Oh, well, so my runaways have returned." And that was enough for Nynaeve to just like, "We're not runaways, mother!" There's no holding her back at all. And she just cracks it off and starts spilling the whole story. And it wasn't soon after she said something that Elaine piped up about the black Aja, and it's just everything from a very quiet room. It's just all the chickens going off together. So to their surprise, Swan tells them, "I do not even speak Leandrin's name in this study," and fills them into everything that has happened during the period or the months that they were away. So to summarize all of that, Leandrin disappeared at the same time as them. And 12 other sisters, or they can say sisters or 12 other people. I think it's 12 sisters.
Sisters, yeah.
Yeah. Apart in this whole disappearance of the 12 sisters, they had broken into some of the stores that hold the Ungreals, the Sangreals, and Terangreals, unsuccessfully so to the Sangreals and Ungreals, but more so that they got their hands on some Terangreals. And in this process, they did murder. I like how the way she puts it. They did murder. Yeah. And in total, 21 people was murdered. That's not...
Jesus.
That's not nothing. I also did the maths on that, Villy. I was going to bring it up in this as well. Yeah. It was what?
3 Aes Sedai, 2 warders, 7 guards, and 9 staff. It's like...
Yeah, some servants. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, shit.
Just like to cover their whole track. And by the sounds of it, they managed to get a bit of a lid on this news, because with all the upheaval happening in all the different kingdoms all over the show, it's not a good time to let you know that there's a silver pike in the fishing nets.
Yeah, listen, if anyone can keep a secret, it's the Aes Sedai.
Yeah, they're working their hardest at it. Well, she tells them about all of that, obviously to sort of great surprise, like, oh, this is now turning to be really the Viper's Nest. Like, okay, people are dying around us. And she then proceeds that, but still, you're going to be punished for this that you have done. Which is Egwene eventually pipes up and says like, okay, well, will we be punished or what's going to happen? She's like, no, for sure, there's going to be punishment for Elaine and Egwene, who left the tower without permission. They will be punished, and for Nynaeve for leaving the city without permission, they will be punished. So that punishment will be in the form of a hiding.
A spanking.
A spanking of sorts. A switching, I suppose, sounds way worse. And they will all report to the to Miriam's Sheriam's quarters.
That's always Miriam.
Hey,
who is this Miriam that you speak of all the time?
Sheriam, Miriam, potatoes. And then on top of all of that, there will be scrubbing a pots aplenty.
There it is.
Scrubbing a pots aplenty. And to make it even worse, this punishment has now been made public knowledge through a memo out. Everyone received the email this morning. This is what's going to be happen. This happened in our organization. The method of punishment will be this. And you all know now. And that's part of the punishment for the girls, Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine, that everyone knows that they got a switching, which is not common ground. And they might be washing pots in the scullery for the rest of their foreseeable future or life. And if you think about it, Aes Sedai's live a couple of 100 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of pots.
That's a lot of pots. I mean, I didn't go into the detail of doing the math in this detailed sum about how many people was murdered, but I can assume there's quite a few thousand pots they'll be washing over the coming months.
Moritz, you want to scream, that's a lot of pots, don't you?
I have held myself back.
But their punishment's not over. They are also informed that Elaine and Egwene will be raised to accept it.
As punishment.
And I'm like, hold on, isn't that why they're there? But yes, that plays. It is a great exchange from Swan, because you kind of get the feeling that Swan is backing them, but she's still got to be the mother of the house. So she's still doing what she's doing, but in a way that doesn't leave them disheartened.
100%.
Just looked after, if anything.
She is, like Jodie was saying before, like looking at them like tools to be used, and she is trying to give them, I mean, the fact that she's putting them on the trail of the Black Aja means that they are going to have to operate as more than just novices, because novices are so restricted. So she is also like sort of pushing them along. She thinks that they're ready. She wouldn't push them into being accepted if they weren't ready to do it. But she is definitely picking up the pace. Even later, when you actually read about it, like they're shocked at how soon after they were told they would be raised, it actually does happen.
Yeah.
And Swan is not making any bones about it. She wants them as accepted. She wants them to get more freedom within the tower so they can do the work for her.
Yeah, and then one of the things that was brought up by Swan as well is obviously her displeasure finding out that they've been using the power as a weapon. To them, it's like, we swear we'll never touch it. We'll never do that again. They're lying again. They will. But Swan acknowledges that they have learned a great deal on their little 4-month adventure that they went on. Probably more than they would have in the tower.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, more offensive magic than
Yeah.
We'll
would have known.
tap into that, and we'll make you accept it so you can go into your fields of study, but you won't have time, because between pot scrubbing and all the studying and everything else you're going to have to do, like, good luck. It's going to be a tough road ahead for you.
Yeah.
Like that's behind you was just easy walking, easy pickings. Now for Nynaeve, it's not so straightforward now, because she's eventually swears that she'll never, she's like, if I had my way, I would put the oath rod in your hands right now, or raise you to sister. Sorry, not put the oath rod in her hands. The oath rod was reserved for Egwene and Elaine's hands. But I would raise you to full sisterhood. But because of your wilder block, that she can't do it, because she just can't channel it. That's the only thing.
She'll die in the test.
I think it's kind of a little bit of a prompt to her to get this sorted because you're ready to become a sister.
Yeah. Yeah, like in the early stages of book 3.
Yeah, so it's starting. It's all starting. It doesn't appear to be quite as bad. And it's, let me just see, does Elaine actually get taken off by this at this stage already? Because of the, she gets told that
She gets sent out.
Yeah, she's got a letter from her mother, and that's the other bit of news that comes out quite big. Her mom is pissed. Not just a little bit pissed, like so pissed that she broke a thousands of year old tradition in like not even taking an Aes Sedai as an advisor, like leaving Elida there. We've got to deal with her now again.
Yes, but now the interjection at this point in Amyrlin is Ravin already there? Is he already influencing Morghese to not take? Like, why didn't she take Elida back? I mean, she's angry with the Aes Sedai for losing her daughter, but Elida wasn't involved in that, and she's been with her for what 20 years or some shit. I'm thinking that like she's already been poisoned against the Aes Sedai at this point. I don't know where Gareth is. Has he already been kicked out, or I don't know.
Good point. I don't know.
We have to read further, I suppose.
Raffo,
indeed. Sorry, Villy. Continue.
Thank you. No,
right.
But that was pretty much it. They found out that
All right.
her mom is really badly pissed off. The brothers had to speak real quick to get them to even stay there. And she gets sent out, leaving just Egwene and Nynaeve with the Amyrlin, because Leanne also had to be taken out, or to take them out, I believe.
Yes. Okay, I could have just waited. But anyway, yes, there's a point that I wanted to make before I forgot to make it.
That's a good thought, Joe.
I don't think I've got anything more out of that. It's punishment is certainly an interesting chapter heading for it, because it's
they got punishments, scrubbing pots, there's shitty things that has to happen that are going to be raised to accept it, but that wasn't styled as a punishment. Swan wasn't trying to say to them, your punishment is that now you will be accepted, that thing you've wanted for months. But it is cool that they are going to be recognized for what they've learned, and also puts them on level pegging with Fowlane.
Yes,
that is great.
Did you have anything else, Joe?
No, just my interjection 5 seconds before the end of this chapter, and that's about it.
I have one thing.
What?
This is going to obviously be a recurring and common theme now with Egwene and her being trapped. Like, even in that moment that she's in the room waiting for their summon to come through, she's got that, I won't be trapped, I won't be kept in this room. I'm just like, this is already playing up, and she's clearly going through some PTSD there.
My first note from the chapter is that there are now harder edges to Egwene. She says, but I will tell you this, I will not let myself be stilled.
Yeah. It's throughout these chapters as well, like when they were in the room there whispering through the hole and like talking to Elaine, like if it comes to it, we're going to run away. And later on in these chapters, if we have to, like with the Black Aja, I'm going to use the one power to fight and to save my life. Like
straight up,
I don't give a shit anymore about anything. I am taking care of myself, and I'm going to become an Aes Sedai. And nobody's going to push me around anymore.
When Egwene and Elaine are busy whispering through the little whispering hole, that's when Egwene was saying, I will not let myself be stilled, which I thought was quite ominous, coming from a powerful, if untrained, channeler, because she knows stuff from her Damane training. Like, if she says that, that's no idle threat. And then I had a laugh at Elaine saying, will you teach me how to be a village girl? Like, basically saying, she'll run away with her and go live in a village, and the two of them can channel to their heart's content. And Egwene is sort of shocked by that. She's like, what? You'd be willing to do that? And she's like, yeah. And that, again, I mention this every time it comes up. I just love that they've formed such a strong bond already.
Sisters, man. Sisters for life.
Totally.
There was a point as well, one of the comments as well, when like Egwene was straightening her skirts and picking up the little stuff before being led out, like making it longer. And when she got out, Elaine was there with her, with, what was it, Theodrin. And she made Theodrin look like someone who's carrying her gloves for her. Like they're both in charge now.
Loved
Yeah.
it. And after the audience with the Amyrlin, when she's let out of the study, she's walking out with her head held high. Like
Yeah.
these girls are not easy prey. Like they are too much to handle. Like like you said, Egwene comes out of the room and Elaine is standing there looking regal. She's being
Yes.
escorted by an accepted, but the accepted looks like she's there to carry her
who
gloves.
was the accepted? It wasn't Theodrin. Theodrin was escorting Nynaeve.
There's another accepted.
Was Miriam. That's who it was.
It's also interesting. I don't know if they actually mention it, but you're meant to understand here that nobody truly understands the Terangrial. They don't know how they're made. They don't know how to even delve them to find out what they do or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure it's Elaine that actually rediscovers the talent for creating them later.
She discovers, she makes Quendiyar later on. She can create that.
Was it her or Egwene that makes Quendiyar? Is it Elaine?
Come
it's
on,
one of them.
Moritz. I was so certain. Now I'm filled with doubt.
I have this fragment of a memory of Egwene being the one that goes out in the boat at night to turn the chain across the harbor into Quendiyar and is captured or something at that point.
Either she figures it out and teaches Elaine, or Elaine figures it out and teaches her, but...
Maybe.
As I remember Elaine having this ability, and she can delve the Terangrial and figure out what it does.
And they make all those copies of the Dream Terangrial.
Yes, and she makes all those copies, yeah. They're not as powerful, though, or something?
Yeah, they're a bit more... the people come through and they're sort of not fully... They're kind of opaque.
Yeah, wow. I do remember
And they make... I think they make copies of the Foxhead medallion that Matt gets as well.
Well, if she can copy everything, I suppose she can copy that. I don't recall that at all. Yes, I believe you.
Sure.
Sure,
why not? All right, let's move on then to chapter 14 called The Bite of the Thorns. The Amyrlin explains that they have, for the most part, concealed the fact that Liandrin and her cohorts leaving was connected to the murders in the tower, and no news of the stolen Terangrial has come out. However, she is determined to root out these dark friends in the tower, and she braces the girls for some bad news. Egwene notices that the Amyrlin is looking uncertain, and that is shocking to her, because the quote from the book is, "The Amyrlin was strength personified," which I thought was just a cool observation by Egwene to make, considering her path and how she holds the tower and what it stands for and the position of Amyrlin's seat in such high regard. She has a lot of reverence for the Amyrlin. So it shocks her to see Swan so uncertain. But as Swan continues talking about who she can truly trust, Leanne, Sheriam, Varen, always believed that she could trust Moiraine. That's what you were mentioning earlier, Joe. But I just thought it was interesting that out of those 4 Aes Sedai she mentioned, 2 of them are Blackheart. That Sheriam and Varen. A lot more on that in the coming chapters. But Nynaeve gets sort of impatient and just blurts out, "What are you talking about?" With no honorific mother or Amyrlin seat or Aes Sedai, nothing. She's just like, what are you on about? You still get the sense that Nynaeve she's still acting as Nynaeve, the wisdom that just happens to be in the tower. She's halfway to being an Aes Sedai herself, and she's still I'm just Nynaeve. I'm just you fucking Aes Sedai. What are you what are you talking about?
There was a thing there as well where she's where the Swan's talking about who to trust, and Nynaeve's like, well, if you want my opinion, you can't trust Moiraine.
Yes. She takes that opportunity to say, well, you think your closest confidant? No, I wouldn't trust her if I were you. So the Amyrlin says that since Liandrin was actively trying to get rid of the 2 of them, now that it's just Nynaeve and Egwene in the study, she has to assume that they are not Black Arja. And immediately Nynaeve arcs up again. It's like, how could you even insinuate such a thing? Blah, blah, blah. She just seems like personally offended that sentence was even uttered. And that's when Swan says, after she puts her back in her place, she says, "I wish I could have raised you to the shawl, daughter." Varen says, "You're already as strong as any woman in the tower."
Yeah.
I get the sense that Swan actually kind of likes specifically Nynaeve, because they are very similar in a lot of ways. They are both, super, super strong-willed. At the very least, bordering on just being rude and bullish all the time and bullying people around them. But like just in this interaction, I was like, oh yeah, she probably sees a little bit of herself in Nynaeve, and I'm gonna stick with that theory that
Yeah,
Swan really actually likes her.
I think
I
that's
mean,
right.
Swan spends
I haven't thought about it like that, but that does seem to be true.
I get the same feeling.
Swan obviously spends a lot of time with Egwene later in the story when Egwene is raised, or even before she's raised. Swan is sort of coaching her, and then when she is raised, she advises her for a long time. But in just this interaction, I thought that Swan showed a little bit of affection for Nynaeve. She then just comes out and says, Nynaeve and Egwene are to be her hounds, hunting the Black Arger within the tower. And she also says, each of you is more than a match for Leandrin in sheer power, and she was the strongest of them. So between Leandrin and the 12 other Aes Sedai that escaped, Leandrin was the strongest, and Swan feels comfortable with Egwene being part of this because, at least in terms of sheer power, she can handle any of them.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys remember what the size of a heart is?
13.
Is it 13? Okay,
That's
so
what
it's
I thought.
Leandrin's heart that left, because we know of multiple Black Sisters that are still in the tower. Varen, Sheriam, Alviarin comes up in some of the upcoming chapters. So we know there are other Black Sisters. It's not like the Black Arger left, but a whole heart did leave.
Yeah.
Which is noteworthy.
Also, what's noteworthy is the amount of Black Arger sisters in amongst the Aes Sedai in the tower. It's at least 10% of all Aes Sedai are Black Arger.
I mean, of the named Aes Sedai that we have met thus far, it's like half of them.
Yeah, it's a huge amount.
Yeah, it's like it almost seems more to like 50% for me. Like
Totally.
We've been going through this now, obviously as the spoiler cast and with all like the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, every name is like, that's ironic because the first three sisters they meet are Black Archer, and even in there, it's Varen's Black Archer. Leanne
Leanne is not.
Leanne is not. I was just wondering about Leanne now, but Sheriam
is.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're right there, still in the thick of everything.
Oh yeah. So anyway, the girls protest to no avail, and when they ask why Elaine is not part of this little, I almost said witch hunt, which would just make me sound like a white cloak. Swan mentions that the hassle from Morghast is just too great. When Morghast is brought back in line, Elaine can actually join them. She actually, also considers Elaine as part of a potential group to hunt the Black Arger. And then when Nynaeve tries to suggest that Egwene is left out because she's too young or something, they have their usual altercation where Egwene has to remind her that she's not a young girl anymore and blah, blah, blah. And then Nynaeve reluctantly admits as much, and she says, okay, cool, look, I concede, you are a woman, you can make your own decisions. Swan says that Varen will brief them on Leandrin and her cabal. She mentions that Varen knows as much, if not more, than she does. The fact that Swan is admitting that Varen might know more than she does means that since Faldara, at the very least, she is not underestimating Varen anymore. Varen is, she's got the Horn of Valir. Varen is right in the thick of it. Varen is now, since Moiraine, the only other person that knows what she and Moiraine are up to. So Varen has been given, I wouldn't say trust, but Varen has been given a lot of responsibility in this sort of plot beneath plots. So yeah, I like the fact that Swan is not just brushing over Varen's sort of like aloof nature anymore. Like she knows. And then lastly, she gives the girls a signed and sealed letter giving them the Amyrlin's authority to pretty much do anything. Do they each get one, I think, right?
I think so.
Or is it just, I think they each got one. And what it says is, what the bearer does is done at my order and by my authority. Or obey and keep silent at my command. Signed by the Amyrlin seat, which is, a source of great amusement to Nynaeve. She's like, I can make the waters I can make a water dance with this. This one is quick to say, do I need to take that away from you? Are you going to be able to do this?
Take this fucking seriously.
I just meant, okay, this gives me a lot of power I didn't think I would have. But she dismisses them, and as they're sort of being shown the door, they keep trying to ask about Matt, but Swan is basically stonewalling them, just saying that she'll send word. And that's how that chapter ends.
No, that was quick. Something about those letters, that's a double-edged blade for sure. Like, if you show that to the right person, it's going to help you. You show it to the wrong person, you're going to get your head chopped off instantaneously. You either get killed or saved with that. So
straight up, I mean, someone that wants that letter will straight up kill you and take it.
Yeah.
then use it for themselves.
You show it to if you're in trouble with the white cloaks, it's not going to help you shit. That's probably going to get you in more trouble.
Yeah. Double murdered.
Double murdered, exactly. So yeah, like I think the best use for that would be to make a water dance. I mean, at least you're safe with that.
It's harmless. Yeah.
Harmless. There you go. Chuck my letter away.
Billy, did you have anything? I mean, a lot of these sort of like study audiences and a couple of these tower chapters, not all of them, because there is some excitement coming up very soon.
Yes.
But like a couple of them are just conversations, and, sort of setting up the internal politics of the tower, which are interesting by their own right, but it's not, it's not the gang riding their horses into a full-fledged battle with Trollocs and Madrol.
No, the only thing I was going to bring up, obviously, we didn't touch on the wards that has been placed on the box, or did we? The one where she keeps all a black little wooden box. Like It was quite interesting that, okay, she grabbed those letters out there, and after sifting through different letters and different eventualities that can happen, and gave them those, that just remembering, like, if the wrong hands open that up, all of them will burn immediately, including the hands that touch it, and reminding that people not to touch what they shouldn't touch.
Yeah.
I'm also so intrigued by that little black box now. Like, what else is in there? Like, this is the Amyrlin seat. This is the most powerful woman in the world. Most powerful person in the world.
That might be triggered by the fact that later in the story, when Elida is Amyrlin, the girls go in to tell Aronriard, and they go rifling through those letters, and they try and read them as quickly as possible before they start disappearing and, like, reorganizing and stuff. Like, they're trying to get info out of Elida's equivalent of that box.
Oh, right, but that's those are Elida's letters. I'm just wondering about these ones. Like, what are those eventualities? Like, this is a whole other series of books can be written about those letters.
Yes. These are the letters going to Shara.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Wait, quick, close that door.
Too late.
Cool. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the action. Jody, why don't you take us through chapter 15, The Grey Man?
Oh, l'action. Yes. So now we're following Nynaeve and Egwene, whatever, as they're leaving the Amyrlin study, and they are worried, and talking about their new mission that they've been given, which I find super irresponsible, because they've just been told there's Black Aja, and here they are walking around in the hallways talking about it. Shut the fuck up.
Shut your mouth, open your eyes.
If there are Black Aja there, which there are, they will be watching the Amyrlin study, and they would see these two leave and then listen to what they have to say. If I was in the Black Aja, that's what I'd be doing. But anyway, so they blabbing, blah, blah, blah. But Nynaeve is not so foolish, because she knows that Leandrin saw them as a threat, but she can't figure out why. I know the Amyrlin just mentioned it as well, but she's figured that out on her own. And if she saw them as a threat, she still sees them as a threat. So if they're still alive, and Leandrin knows that they're still alive, that their lives are still in danger, and they got to tread very carefully. So Nynaeve is becoming more level-headed, is another note that I have here. In the previous chapter, Swan actually tests her to see if she can control her temper. And Nynaeve does. She has those little outbursts that she had in the beginning, like, what the fuck is going on? But later on, she holds her tongue. And Swan actually comments like, oh, I see you can hold your temper. So she is getting it under control. And she's becoming more level-headed in general. She's also regretting her actions against the White Cloaks, where she got let out of anger and let it take control of her. And she wishes that she hadn't done that. So she's really growing as a person as well here. So Nynaeve accompanies Egwene all the way back to the novice quarters, where they go and knock on Elaine's door, but she isn't there yet. I wonder where she is at this point in time. Maybe scrubbing pots, I imagine, because she did leave with Leanne, and I figured she might have gone back to her room, but she isn't there.
No, she was taken straight to Shiriam's quarters for her from her mom and for her switching.
Yeah, she's going to get beaten up and then sent to the pots, I suppose. So anyway, that's where she is. Nynaeve says that she wants to talk to both of them. That's why she's looking for Elaine. So she's got something that she wants to say, but we never find out what it is. And Egwene also wants to know, so she grabs Nynaeve at the shoulders to, like, stop her and say, like, what the? And then that's right at this moment is where something flashes before her eyes and clanks against the wall, and it's a crossbow bolt. And not just any crossbow bolt, one with like 4 sides for piercing armor, some crazy, crazy heavy duty crossbow bolt that nicks her ear and misses her head by millimeters. And this is where I've got that massive note that says Taviran.
Taviran.
Taviran. Argue all you want, but she stopped exactly at the right time. This is not luck. So this crossbow bolt just misses her head.
Misses both of them. I think she says that if they didn't dodge it, if it hadn't missed them, it would have killed both of them. It would have gone through her head and Nynaeve's.
So that's why it's that special kind of bolt for piercing armor, so it could kill 2 people with one blow.
Multiple skulls.
Multiple skull piercer. Anyway, so yeah, Nynaeve immediately tackles her to the floor. Like Egwene is still like in shock, but Nynaeve jumps into action, throws her to the floor, and that's where they like lying on the floor. They see this crossbow bolt lying there that almost killed them. This is where Egwene name drops our podcast. I'll shout out to her. Blood and Ashes. And Nynaeve pulls a Captain America and tells her to watch her language.
She's doubled that with the blood and bloody ashes as well.
Yeah, yes. that is noteworthy. Sorry. Just to drive it home. Blood and ashes. Blood and bloody ashes. Just talking like Matt now. Or Bruno, even. So, but Nynaeve as well. Like, Nynaeve is just... this is why Swan likes her so much and wants her to be a sister, because she has a plan. She's got her head on her shoulders properly now. She reacts when the bolt hits, and she's already embraced Saidar. She's on the floor, and the glow is around her. And Egwene is still lying there, like she would have still been standing, and she hasn't embraced Saidar. In fact, she tries to, but she's so nervous that she keeps fumbling. She can't actually make it happen. She can't embrace the source. But I suppose that attempted murder is pretty like something that makes you angry. Like if someone tried to murder me, I'd also be pretty pissed.
What the?
How dare you? So Egwene's still struggling to embrace Saidar, but eventually she does get it, and her first instinct is to channel lightning. This is her days from hanging out with the Seanchan. And she has to like suppress it because she can feel the urge inside her growing to just release this lightning and just fucking kill anyone around her. But Nynaeve is like looking around. They're trying to find out where this crossbow bolt came from. They assume it's a man because if it was a woman in the tower, they would have just channeled and killed them. So it must be a man with a weapon like that. And Nynaeve spots the attempted assassin down the hall, up the ramp or something like that, and wraps him in air, which is a little trick she learned on a certain boat ride. With the Amyrlin seat that the Amyrlin didn't think that she would remember that.
Held on to there for a while.
Filed that one away for later.
Yes, and she does it later in this chapter as well. She only saw that weave once when on the boat, and she remembered it, instantaneously using it to catch this person across the hall, like up the staircase around the corner. And she then just stands up and starts straightening her dress, and Egwene's like, what, lying on the floor still, like, what are you doing? She's like, no, it's fine now. I got him. Don't worry about it. And then they go to go and find this assassin to go and question him and find out what's going on. And they find the man around the corner, like his back's towards them, in mid-stride, busy running. He's still on the ball of his foot, but he's trapped in air. But he does have a dagger in his chest. And
that wasn't there before.
Oh, yeah. Well, how did you shoot us with a dagger in your chest? And the crossbow is missing, notably, if you did try to shoot a crossbow bolt at them. So the weapon's gone. He's dead. And just then, Sheriam appears at the top of the stairs, obviously trying to make us believe that Sheriam is the one that puts a certain dagger in a certain chest. But she's just looking at them going, like, what the fuck, man? What's going on here? And my thought when I read this chapter the first time was, oh, Sheriam did it. And then the second time I was like, no, when I was writing my notes, I got to go check this out. And it turns out it wasn't her. It was Isom who killed the man and collected the crossbow bolts. So this is our first little
interesting
meeting with him. Yeah, it wasn't Sheriam at all. It was him. It is confirmed. So he popped into the tower.
Really? Okay.
Picked up all the evidence and popped back into the world of dreams because he is a very proficient dreamer. He can get into physically, as we all know. So he jumped into the tower, collected all the evidence, and then popped back out again. Cheers, dudes. But Sheriam does confirm that this is a grey man, a soulless, someone who has literally sold their soul to the devil and
Yeah.
given it to him. Yeah, and this is the first time that a grey man, that we meet a grey man, officially.
No. We've met a grey man before.
Feldara.
Feldara, there was one.
But we meet one. Faldara, we don't meet him officially. We don't know.
We don't know.
Well, as far as I recall, and I could be wrong, our bad memories are notorious at this point. But yeah, this is the first time we actually see a grey man, because I mean, I think it's Egwene that even comments like she wouldn't have been able to pick him out in a group of 3 people. He is so plain, that like your eyes just slide off them, kind of a thing. That was always a great way of explaining them in the books that I always remembered. But this is one of the soldiers that we see for the first time in my experience, at least. And there hasn't been a grey man in the tower since the Trolloc Wars, so shit is heating up in the world. The people are getting desperate. Sheriam hides the body under a weave, obviously he gets released from the air bonds. He falls down, and she covers him with a weave of air. And Nynaeve sees how she does it and actually thinks to herself, I'll remember that and use it later on, because she even mentions to Egwene later on that I've already thought of a use for that. So now I'm going to be looking out for when she uses this later in, because there wouldn't have been that line in the book if it doesn't pop up later. Like, she's already thought of a way.
Is, put a pin in that.
Egwene, put a pin in that, because she's going to use it later on. I don't know what for, but I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. Anyway, so Sheriam's hidden the body and tells the girls, the women, we've got to remember that now. Even Egwene is now considered that, to go to their rooms and say nothing. Nynaeve, she's already in Black Aja hunting mode, asks Sheriam what she's doing there. And Sheriam's like, well, I am the mistress of the novices in the novices' quarters. And who the hell do you think you are to ask me any questions? So Nynaeve, rightly so, is suspicious of Sheriam, which is a good thing. You're good, Nynaeve. Keep being suspicious.
Yeah, follow that hunch.
Yeah, Sheriam is none too pleased. Egwene remembers that there's a crossbow bolt on the floor in front of her room still. So she makes some excuse about being cold and wants her coat and runs away to go and get it. But when she gets there, it's gone as well. So Isom appeared where the grey man was, killed him, took his crossbow, disappeared again, I suppose, walked into the world of dreams, came out back at her room, through another portal, picked up their crossbow bolt, and then disappeared again. So he's on it.
Why is he not doing the killing?
I don't know. That is another question that I have. Why send the grey man if he is so proficient? I don't know.
Anyway. None of that makes sense to me, because I didn't even think for one moment Isom was involved in that.
No, neither did I. I just had to Google it, and that's what happened.
It becomes known later.
Yeah, so I don't know why he just didn't do it himself. Maybe he only kills wolves. Doesn't kill Aes Sedai.
So who put the grey man up to it? Do we know, like canon, that it is Isom?
We know it's him that collects the bolts and the crossbow and kills the grey man, but who sent him?
Okay, but who put the grey man in the first place in there to fire the bolt?
Who knows? The Dark One.
Bella.
Missana?
Has to be a Forsaken.
Because, I mean, surely that holds more meat than the who cleaned up after the mess. And why would he want to clean it up then? But none of that makes sense to me.
Well, to get rid of the evidence.
What evidence? He's not involved in wanting to kill her.
Well, he's involved somehow, because he wouldn't be there collecting evidence if he wasn't.
And there's still a dead body. Like, why did he not pull the grey man into the world of dreams with him?
No, none of that makes any sense to me. That's just
It's okay. We're not going to solve that yet. There are no clues or lines of logic for us to follow. We are not going to solve the Isom involvement, because up until this point, we know nothing about Isom other than what we already know from previous reads and from the internet, obviously. The obvious person on which the suspicion is cast is Sheriam, because it even mentions when she shows up, her usual serenity is gone.
Yeah.
She's right there. She's flustered when Nynaeve asks her what she's doing there. And we'll still get to it, but how the chapter ends is also another great Nynaeve stroke of detective noose.
she's going full Batman.
It's like she didn't even say anything about the knife, the dagger in his chest.
We're still getting there, Vil.
Yes, exactly that. But no, Vil, the reason I mentioned Isom is because I knew it was too obvious to be Sheriam. So I Googled that specifically, and that's when I just stumbled upon, it was Isom confirmed. And I was like, and that's Isom. We were speaking about him in book 1. So, I never even considered about all the ramifications of saying that name. And then all these things that come up from it. But anyway, that's what happened.
Because we speculated Isom did in Faldara. That it was him already that fired an arrow at either Rand or the Amyrlin, and we had the red man, red shirt theory.
Yes.
And that's going to put me back onto the red man theory, because this like, if Isom is this proficient hunter killer, he's doing a pretty shit job at the 2 interactions. He fails both times. That's 0 out of 2.
He didn't do either of the attempts.
But what is he doing there then? That's what I don't understand.
He's cleaning up. They sent a grey man, and now when the grey man fails, he's cleaning up after the grey man's mess. Because if Isom gets captured or killed or something, that's a massive loss. There's only one Isom/Luke. There's only one such entity in the world. There's plenty of grey men. Grey men are expendable. So they send in a grey man. Grey man failed. Isom jumps in, cleans up the mess. Vise. I think there is still a room for Sheriam to be acting in concert with Isom. It doesn't all have to be Isom, but I have not read up on, the reveal, because I think it's named explicitly later in the story. I don't think people would just come up with this thing and universally accept the fact that it was Isom. It must come up in the actual scripture.
I think that is how we shall refer to it from now on. Scripture.
I certainly will.
Anyway, so lots of unanswered questions. Nothing new there. But so while Egwene was away getting her coat / looking for the crossbow bolt, Nynaeve was asking some very pointed questions, which we don't know what they were. But anyway, when she comes back, Sheriam is even more pissed off and flustered with her fists on her hips. Nynaeve is very lucky here that she didn't push her too far. Perhaps she did. We'll find out later.
The fact that Sheriam does not actually hold Nynaeve accountable for her insubordination also makes Sheriam look more guilty.
Yeah, nothing's looking good for Sheriam,
No. She is very much being set up.
Yeah, so on their way back, now this is Nynaeve and Egwene heading back to their rooms. Nynaeve points out correctly that it's strange that Sheriam never wondered who actually stabbed the Grey Man, which puts even more suspicion on top of her.
Yeah.
So, that's that whole chapter there, and this last question, all that really makes it look like Sheriam is guilty, which was so overdone that that's why I Googled it to find out if it really was her, because it's just too obvious. Yeah, like, no, this can't be. So anyway, that's how the chapter ends, with that question hanging in the air.
Yeah. What have you got on that one, Vil? Apart from red shirt theory, what else would you like to introduce into the discussion?
Isom was trying to kill the wall behind them.
I don't have much else. I mean, they move around, they get fired an arrow at, shit goes around, man gets killed, gets hidden in a air cloak.
An air cloak.
So Nynaeve is picking up weaves left, right, and center, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
Because she just quickly saw that as well and like, oh, cool, air, I can do that.
I think that is actually a talent, capital T talent.
Yeah.
Quick learning. It's something that some Aes Sedai have, and all our best friends obviously have it out of necessity, because the series is only so long and they all need to get up to speed really quickly. But it is something that some Aes Sedai have, that they can just see a weave and they know it.
Nynaeve shows this ability as well as soon as they come out in Falme, after they get captured, because they get attacked with lightning, and she immediately starts lightning them right back. She sees the Daman use lightning, and then she immediately knows it.
When Sheriam says to the girls not to speak of it to anyone except the Amyrlin, she says, but also only if the Amyrlin asks about it first.
Ah, yeah.
So if the Amyrlin doesn't ask about it, Sheriam's instruction is basically, don't talk to anyone about it. Never mention it.
Yes.
Which is also suspicious.
Just added to that long list of suspicions.
Egwene mentions in their conversation walking again, regardless of what the three oaths want, she will channel to save her own life. I think this is what
Yeah.
you were mentioning earlier, Joe. Like
Yeah.
Egwene is again saying that she will channel, and it's actually one of the notes that Rowan had sent in to me as well about this specific stretch of chapters, that the girls are really like, they're not being cowed into subservience. You know, they're operating within the rules and parameters that have been set before them for the most part, but they are pushing the envelope at every turn.
Yeah.
Which is really great. You know, they're not just so intimidated by the people around them and the task set before them or anything like that. They are up to the challenge, which is awesome because they are super capable.
This is what they learned from their experience with the Shawn-Chan. They were
Mm,
captured, they were cowed, and this will never happen again. And it's a shit thing to happen to them, but a good thing in the long term,
yeah,
because they
yeah.
are stronger and more resilient than ever.
And they've got great instincts. Like even Egwene, you know, like earlier she was sort of flustered by the bolt almost hitting her and actually nicking her ear and stuff.
Mm.
But the thought to go back up to the room to go grab the bolt
Yeah.
was really clever. I mean, I didn't think of that.
No.
So that's genius. I also like that how Nynaeve is using clues, like she's putting things together to sort of follow a trail, which is a cool parallel with her actual tracking ability. Like Nynaeve is a great tracker,
Yeah.
and you know, person that can find and follow, you know, like small telltale signs to sort of follow, you know, a prey or you know anything through the forest. It's pretty much what she's doing here. She's picking up on little clues and nuances and putting them together and coming up with a theory, and then she, you know, follows that line of thought,
Yeah.
which is rad. Yeah, that's all I had.
Yeah, I don't have
Yep.
anything much more than that.
Then let us move on.
Okay.
The next chapter, chapter 16, is called Hunters 3. Why don't you take us through that one, Vil?
What are these two girls going to do after they've been told to keep their mouths shut about something?
Not keep their mouth shut?
They can't wait to just do that exact thing. Anyway, let's get there. Nynaeve and Egwene walk into now the accepted quarters. And who do they find in Nynaeve's room? Elaine, as well as two young men sprawled over the chairs, all arms and legs. So we've been introduced in the past to Gawain and Galad, and they having a good go at their sister now for not telling them where she has been and what she's been up to all of these years, or all of these last months. So the brothers are badgering her for more explanations and how upset the mom was there, and how they just managed to keep her in the tower and themselves there through their fast mouths. And Elaine eventually being straight up like, there's no benefit in this for you at all. So you're not enjoying doing some training with the warders there. And Nynaeve eventually sets them straight and proceeds to get them out the room with yet again a bending of the truth that they have permission to be in the accepted quarters, which they don't need. No one does, or any of them in. But still, it's enough for them that she threatens them with a switching from the Master of Guards, and he's that she'll send him a letter, and she will be personally there to view their punishment. And I think that's sort of off the back of Gowan saying to Elaine that, you know, he can see that she's been given the switching because she hasn't sat the whole time they've been there.
That's where she was. Okay.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. Like it is kind of a belittling thing for a princess to get a switching, I think. Massively so. And anyway, they eventually bolt in the 3 seconds that Nynaeve gave them. Obviously, they're walking into the room and finding the two brothers there. Egwene has a little internal rose petals, love, beauty, and thinking about wearing scantily transparent dresses in his presence. Gallet, that is. Which is...
Keep it in your pants, Egwene.
Yeah, man. Keep it in your pants. Get to the action. Like, there's no time for that. Nobody got time for this. But yeah, they bolt, and Nynaeve then, as soon as the two men are out of the room, does exactly that thing that she shouldn't do, and she tells everything in Egwene's protest about no, Elaine needs to know about the Black Archer, and someone else needs to know what we know outside of Swan, because
Yeah.
I don't completely trust her.
Good instincts again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Aes Sedai is getting so worked into their lives now. They might as well just put her on the shore and get accepted into it now, because they're really doing the same things that they all do. No wonder that people say Aes Sedai.
Nynaeve is making calls and,
Yeah.
like making decisions and stuff on the fly. And I am just super impressed by her in these chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. She's just, and it's planning. It's not like reckless. It's kind of like, we know this, but we need someone else to know this.
Yeah, there's method to her madness.
So you kind of say like, okay, cool. Well, what? Can't you keep your mouth shut? And it's definitely the part that Egwene has been wanting to go with this. Like, no, but yep, as expected, Elaine is going to be, well, I'd rather do that than sprout crab pots, because sure as fuck I don't like doing that. She's like, well, don't worry, there'll be a lot of pot scraping in between all the work that we have to do, in between the studies we have to take on, and now we also have to be the hunters of the Black Archer in the tower, where grey men fire bolts at you. And she's like, what? It's just like, yeah, that's just in, the excitement doesn't stop over here. But that's pretty much the summary of it, other than that Matt is still violently ill. And at this stage, Nynaeve doesn't believe that they intend to heal him.
Well, it was on the table.
Hey, it was on the table. She didn't know about it. I was just like thinking that it was clearly discussed, but no, that was a discussion Varen had with Swan without them there.
Nynaeve is so savvy, and her sort of like innate distrust of the Aes Sedai actually puts her in the perfect position to do this sort of investigating. She does not take anything anyone says at face value.
Yeah, absolutely.
She knows the words that Swan used are not the words that mean I'm going to heal Matt. She can see straight through it immediately. So her natural skepticism and cynicism is actually a great tool for her here.
Yeah, but it's only coming to the forefront now because she did get willingly kidnapped and led out the tower to her almost untimely death by Leandrin.
But if you'll remember, like in that conversation when Leandrin was trying to coax them out the tower, she was going, hang on, wait, where are we going? What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? And then like had to be bullied into it, basically. And eventually Leandrin had to use her authority as an Aes Sedai that's standing in the White Tower. Nynaeve ultimately had no power against.
Well, there was a comment by Swan as well, like, I can't believe you fell for that, like, to being led out. So like we'll train you well enough so that you'll never fall for that kind of crap again.
There was a big stab there when she said that to them. But yeah, it's they then carry on that no, she's not going to let Matt die, and Elaine's like, oh well, I know where he is. He's in the visitors' quarters, I think. And she's like straight to a cupboard, pulls out her bag of weeds and leaves and herbs.
A bag of weed.
No, well,
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve always says like weeds and this wheat root and that leaf and that, her herb sack.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's not any other intention other now than just to go and help Matt. They're going to go, and the three of them are going to channel and help Matt and heal Matt.
Yeah.
And they're going to just join the streams, never cross the streams, but they're going to cross the streams. And none of them know how to do it, but Nynaeve's adamant that they're going to let Matt down. She's not going to let Matt die.
We'll just go heal him ourselves.
Yeah, and then there's a knock at the door, and an Aes Sedai walks in.
Dun, dun, dun.
Aes Sedai in the tower?
No.
It's like it's styled as this like cliffhanger ending, and then the next chapter, the first sentence, like blah blah blah, walks in.
Turn page. Oh, there you go. Mystery solved.
I love how Nynaeve handled the boys.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, you go for it, Joe.
No. You've obviously got notes on it. I'm just thinking about it. Right? You read your notes.
Just the one note, like how like Galad is just like playing it super super cool, and then Nynaeve, like first of all making up or just assuming that they don't know that they are not supposed to be in the acceptors quarters, and that's not even a rule. Like they
No.
can, but she fabricates this thing that they should be afraid of. And then when Galad is sort of taking his time leaving the room and she's counting,
Yeah.
even towards the end, even Galad is sort of like, "Ooh, okay," quickens his step, and he just quickly darts out the door before she gets to 3. Nynaeve is no shrinking violet.
She has been doing this for a long time. Even as wisdom in Eamon's field,
It's
people
true.
listen to her. You do what she says, and that hasn't
It's
changed.
amazing.
Now she's got even more power. Like, she's only going to get even better at this.
Now she would be intolerable to live with.
Yeah. Except for Lan.
Ah!
The overmind is alive and well.
Oh, yeah.
I like how Elaine just like spills the beans on Gawain's feelings for Egwene.
Yeah.
Like just like typical brother sister behavior. Like nothing is sacrosanct. Just, I don't give a shit what he wants me to keep a secret. No, this is what I think. But she does say there that because Galad saved Gawain's life when Gawain was still really young, Gawain has this sense of almost obligation or debt to Galad, and if he knows that Galad, which Galad has already shown, is interested in Egwene, Gawain would never do anything about it, which is, just makes me like Gawain more. I like him. He was nice to Rand. He's nice to his sister. He's a voice of reason when she's being, her haughty self. He brings her back down to earth. He knows how to talk to his mom and calm her down. He seems like generally like a jovial, cordial guy,
Yeah, like now that I've been online a whole bunch more, doing some research on all of this, there's a lot of people out there who fucking hate him, who think he is the worst.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Anyway, maybe later on in the books we'll figure out why. But
he does sort of have those pained sort of leading the younglings and not knowing what to do with them that maybe turns people off. But then also when he puts on those rings toward the end of the story that make him super fast, like what those assassins used.
Yeah.
Sort of like he knows that it's going to kill him, but he's going to do it anyway, sort of thing is awesome. And he's an awesome swordsman.
Yeah. And a natural leader. And like you say, just a general all-around good guy. But he is a bit mopey.
He gets a bit mopey around Egwene later when she does not give him the attention that he feels he deserves because she's so busy with being Amyrlin and all that stuff.
She is a bit busy, Gawain. Jesus.
There's shit going on, all right? Keep it in your pants. All right. Quick chapters these. Even this last one, I'm not going to get into an awful lot of details. Let's just jump straight into it. Chapter 17 is called The Red Sister. So, the sister that comes in through the door and barges in is Elida. And she just immediately Elidas it up and starts bullying everyone. God, I fucking have no time for her. She also just straight up asks them about the Black Archer. She knows that's not supposed to happen. I wonder if she's trying to shock them or just trying to find out whether they know something. But when they sort of, admit to knowing about it, she's not surprised. Elaine and Elida sort of square off a little bit, but obviously Elida's going to win that battle. Doesn't someone embrace the source? Is it Elaine that embraces the source or something?
I think
Egwene
so, yeah.
can see a glow around her and then reluctantly lets it go. And Elida never flinches. She never embraces it. But I mean, obviously she's in the position of power there. She makes Elaine understand exactly where she is. She seems genuinely, this is Elida, she seems genuinely invested in getting Elaine onto the throne, being the first full Aes Sedai to sit on the Lion throne for however many hundreds or thousands of years or whatever it is. I think you do in between all the the first ever known. I think she makes it sound like there had been one before, but no one knew she was Aes Sedai or something along those lines. But yeah, it's like it would be a momentous occasion, obviously. And in between all Elida's sort of prickly thorniness, you do get these glimpses of her genuinely being invested in Elaine. But then I catch myself thinking, is this just because she wants to sort of see the fruits of her labors? Has she been working on Elaine for so long that she's her little pet project and she wants to see if she can get her onto the throne? I don't know. Even when a good thought about Elida comes up, I squash it down because I hate it.
Yeah. She has been advisor to Morghese for the last 20 years,
something like that,
and it's the sole purpose in seeing this young woman grow up with the spark is to put her on the throne. And what a double one if she's an Aes Sedai. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot vested in that in terms of having an extension of the tower in Andor as a queen.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like Elida is looking to achieve that goal, not just for the good of the tower, but for her own sort of prestige. Like she ushered in this Queen Aes Sedai under her guidance.
Oh, yeah, man, absolutely. She'll claim it. She's that type of person.
So anyway, she starts questioning them about their disappearance and where they were and what they were doing. And Egwene makes up the harebrained story about them going to find Matt because he was sick and they had to bring Matt back to the tower to be healed, which I found strange because Egwene is a bad liar. She got caught out by Jeff from Bornhold, quick smart. And also they seem to think that there's like whispers between the novices that Elida can sense a lie. Like they shouldn't lie around her because maybe some part of her foretelling talent allows her to spot a lie. And Nynaeve bails her out from her bad lie, stating that the Amyrlin said that they must put all this stuff behind them. Like once they've done their penance and they've got their punishment, then all of this is behind them and they shouldn't dwell on it. Elida seems proud of the fact that Elaine will be accepted, but obviously holds the fact that Egwene is being raised in much contempt. She doesn't like the fact that Egwene is getting the same treatment as Elaine, but she quickly pivots from Egwene's story about Matt to Rand. And that's when the girls quietly panic, like they know Rand can channel, they know what happened at Falme, they need to keep Elida off his scent completely. And Egwene is sort of worrying about this because of this perceived ability that Elida would be able to tell, when they're lying. But just then Sheriam enters. It's like a fucking revolving door on Nynaeve's room here. She basically squares off with Elida again. They have a little bit of a tense conversation between them, but Elida eventually moves off. And when Nynaeve asks about the grey man, Sheriam, like in front of Elaine, Nynaeve had this conversation with Sheriam like
5 minutes ago.
Let's be generous, half an hour. Like previously, Elaine is standing next to her and she asks Sheriam, so what did you do with the grey man? Just fucking going balls out. And Sheriam is just, you can see like, oh God, okay. Since you're talking about this in front of Elaine, I can assume that you have already broken your promise not to tell anyone. I mean, she's super annoyed by it, obviously, and she makes them agree not to tell anyone else, which, I mean, I can't see the difference between what she's doing here and what she's done before. I don't know why she's expecting a different result, which, again, just makes her seem like a little bit inept and maybe a little put off balance. To me, like, all of these things are just, they're painting her as the obvious culprit when, she might not necessarily be. But then the double bluff is that she is Black Aja, so she could actually be involved. But the first-time readers won't know anything about that up until now. But Sheriam says, no, you guys can come with me now because we are going to go view Matt's healing. And the girls are surprised and obviously relieved that seems to be the way that Swan is taking things, is to actually heal him and not just let him die or outright kill him to make someone else the blower of the Horn of Valere. But she says, no, that it is custom in the tower that anyone that brings someone to the tower to be healed can be present when that healing happens, and that obviously extends to them. And she says, we need to hurry. We shouldn't keep the Amyrlin waiting because the Amyrlin herself is going to be leading this healing process, which I thought was interesting because I would think that a yellow would lead it. No mention of a yellow.
But she's super powerful.
I think she is one of the, if not the most powerful Aes Sedai in the tower currently.
Isn't there is a yellow present at that healing later on?
Is there? Okay.
But also, listen, this is not an illness. It's not a sickness. It's magical related,
I guess.
It's not specifically a yellow.
It's not a capital H healing.
Yeah.
It's a,
so to speak, yeah.
Cleansing of kind.
Yes, I guess. Okay. That's enough for me.
There you go.
I said to a recent Twitter follower, like, if I squint hard enough, I can make myself believe that. And that's the end of the chapter.
Right. Well, thank God they didn't have to heal Matt, because that would not have gone well.
There was, again, hissing by an Aes Sedai in these last chapters. It seems that this is now becoming one of the things we pick up the whole time. There's a hell lot of hissing by these women.
They are reptile people.
Lizard people from the center of the earth. What is it? When Sheriam touches the grey man?
Yes.
Yes.
She hisses there.
Mm,
Yeah. Is that what Varen does when she touches that Ogier that had gone through the waves and
Yes.
lost his soul?
mm.
Exactly.
There's a lot of hissing when they talk
Yes.
about Shadow Logoth. There's hissing. There's
Moraine hisses when she sees Matt with
Yes,
the dagger
like,
the first
yes.
time in Camelin.
Oh, that shit's bad, man.
Ooh, shit. Not an awful lot in that chapter. Did you guys want to add anything in there?
No, all these 3 chapters could almost have been 3, or 6 chapters could have been 3.
Yes. Yes,
Well,
there's a lot of... They're short, actually, in terms of page count as well.
I mean, in looking at our total recording time this afternoon, it is, I think Callbacks was the longest chapter.
it always is.
It always is. That's true. Okay, so then, did you guys remember to pick a favorite moment? Jody, you're up first this week.
Ah, good. Well, also, yes, I did not remember. You did send me a message before this recording, which then made me remember and pick one. So my whole, it's not just one specific moment as always, or as usual now. It's Nynaeve's evolution through these chapters, from holding her temper in the beginning and Swan recognizing that and going, oh, all right, she's changing. She can keep it under wraps, to her quick thinking as a detective, her, how she starts regretting attacking the White Cloaks, all that stuff that I mentioned there throughout the time. Like, she's really growing and taking charge and being way more responsible and not so angry all the time. And this is her progression towards actually breaking that block eventually and becoming the fucking badass that she is destined to be. And this is where it begins, yo.
Joe, I'm just going to come out and say it. That is also my favorite. My favorite moment can be summed up as Detective Nynaeve. Just how fucking sharp she is. Yeah. So I agree with everything you just said. And I mean, yeah, all the stuff around that as well. Like how she's really stepping into that leadership role. She's quietly just taking charge, right? Like you said with Egwene, like she's just sort of trailing behind Nynaeve, who has a plan already. She is acting with forethought and with a plan, and Egwene is sort of just reacting still, just showing that little bit of an age advantage that Nynaeve has. How about you, Vil?
I'm going to throw my favorite moment to the 2 younger girls, Nynaeve and Elaine. Egwene and Elaine. At their handling of the Accepted when they were summoned.
Yeah.
Especially
cool.
Egwene's taking just that bit longer, not giving anything, and then walking out of the room to find Elaine standing there, regal as a queen, and Accepted guard. It looks like her glove-carrying companion.
Yes, like a handmaid.
That was gold for me. That was just brilliant. Like, they are so much more in stature already in that tower somehow.
Totally. They are undeniable. And I mean, also the fact that Egwene then manages to get the upper hand when Foulane sort of regales Leanne with this little episode. And Leanne's like, oh, okay, well, that's not what you should have been doing. No one asked you to like force them out. So why don't you go rake those leaves and think about it? So Foulane comes out with a punishment where she thought she was going to have the upper hand. Yeah. Love these girls.
That was great. I mean, not much action. I mean, the most action is one crossbow bolt that clipped an ear.
I mean, that's pretty actiony, but yes, I also feel the same.
I suppose there was a dagger in a grey man's chest.
Yes.
It's more like murder on the Orient Express. It's a murder mystery in the White Tower. Yeah. We had a couple of honorable mentions. One of my own is the boys trying to play savior, like, oh, don't worry, we're here to help you guys. And Nynaeve like just not being able to get rid of them fast enough. Like the boys were a bit of like,
you're in the way.
Yes. Get out of here. Rowan also wrote in and said that his favorite moment was just how, also related to how they do the detective work, but how the girls are just not cowed by the tower, how they give zero shits. They are now set this task and they are going to do that come hell or high water. And I mean, despite themselves actually being deathly afraid as well, they don't shy away from it. They dive into it head first, which is great. And Adrian wrote in saying that her favorite moment was Nynaeve using the weave that she learned from Swan,
Yeah.
from
Yep,
seeing it
that's
that one
great.
time and using it to like perfection, like jump down on the ground, spotted the grey man, and then, like you said, Joe, just immediately gets up, starts dusting herself off like nothing's wrong. Like, don't worry, it's taken
Job's
care
done.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've sorted this out.
genius.
Their confidence level is just amazing. How these, especially Nynaeve, like there's a confidence about her now that, and I suppose it comes with them realizing that if Egwene and Elaine are already stronger than the strongest Black Aja, and Nynaeve has been told how strong she's going to be in the power, she's just walking that role at the moment.
She's certainly stepping into it. Yeah. One more honorable mention from me is Swan saying that she wishes she could raise Nynaeve to full sister, and the fact that I think Swan actually kind of likes Nynaeve because she sees a lot of herself in her. That made me just feel, good about Nynaeve and her abilities and her, just her capable nature. That Swan is like, man, if you weren't a wilder, if you could channel at will, I'd raise you.
Yeah. Oh, so much cool shit coming, man. Like the next, like really, it's these next up to like Crown of Swords, like 7, maybe book 8, even book 8. It starts tapering off a bit, but
It
like
does.
we are in for a run and a half, with these next 4 or 5
best
books.
books are still coming. Hey, I mean,
Yes.
Shadowrun, Fires from Heaven, like all that stuff in the waste. Oh, it is so good.
Saladar.
Do My Wells is still coming.
Oh, don't do my wells, me, bro.
So cool. So to our listeners out there, send in your favorite moments, your corrections, your theories, your general comments, anything you want to talk about, anything you want us to talk about on the show. Send all of that to us. You can reach us on Twitter at Blood and Ash Pod, or in any of the social media links in the episode description. Tell your friends about the show. Evangelize. Be Massima.
Spread the scripture.
But don't quite be Massima. Just do it in a much more rational fashion. But yes, do interact with us. We as you can tell, like we really enjoy hearing from our listeners, and we try to include as much of what we get from you guys in the show. So the door is open for you all to participate along with us. Next time we will do chapters 18 called Healing through chapter 23 called Seal. Did I say that right? Chapter 23 called Sealed, not Seal, singular.
Not like no, okay.
Or Kiss from a Rose.
You broke Billy.
Oh man, it only took the entire episode to break Billy, and I got
Billy's
him
just had enough.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like a really, really positive note on which to call things to an end. Thanks for joining again. Thanks to all our listeners for tuning in. And we'll see you guys all next time.
Ahoy. I don't know if you could say that as a parting greeting.
Ooh, is it like aloha?
Aloha. Oh, that's the one for next week.
See you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.